I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a very interesting program this evening, so I'm going to keep our business remarks very short. For those of you that were asking about paying your Veterans Club dues, Bob Richards is in the back and he can take them now. It's $10 per year. And if you're not a Veterans Club member and you would like to be, it's the best $10 you'll ever spend. We have a lot of events during the year, and our practice is whatever the cost is, it's $5 more for people who are not members of the Veterans Club, so you'll get your money back in a short period of time. So please join. We have a very important upcoming event, which is the food drive for the Fort Bragg Food Pantry, and I'd like to ask Larry Netzer to come talk for a few minutes about that.
Good evening, I'm Larry Netzer. I'm working with a co-chair, Rick Kmiek, and we're working on our second annual food drive for the Fort Bragg Food Pantry. And so our collection interval is going to be March 1st through Monday night, March 20th. And you'll be able to drop off your perishable goods and canned goods in between the two entry doors here. There will be several communications coming out on OCA. We are looking for some specific items, baby diapers and a number of things. So keep an eye out on that. And this is supported by your vets group, and we also have buy-in from Andrew Chapel, Findle Farms, and a new community, Brightleaf at the park. And so they'll all be helping us. And I do have a number of specific volunteers I'd like to highlight: Jane Fast, Dick Bland, Kathy Purcella, and Jack Wieneman, and Jim Kluckman, who's on our subcommittee to help out. So appreciate your support of this, and keep an eye out on the email.
Thanks, Larry. We're very privileged and honored to have as our guest speaker tonight Herman Sperling, who's chairman of the Government Affairs Committee, and a whole list of other things that are on his credentials. So I'll let him come up and talk to him about it himself.
Thank you very much. So what do you think? My Steve Jobs look-alike uniform, huh? I know I don't make it. I was asked to start this off with a joke, and this joke I really selected for John Orth, who's unfortunately not here. And when I finish the joke, I think you'll understand the relevancy. So Ferrari dies, see, and he goes up to heaven, and there's God at the pearly gates, and he goes, "Wow, I wasn't expecting you. I mean, Gabriel, Peter, somebody, but not you." And God says, "Well, you have been so good for humanity. Your automobiles are fabulous. You've been philanthropic. You've done a lot of good things for humanity, so I thought it would be appropriate that I personally welcome you here to heaven." And he goes, "Oh, this is unbelievable." And God looks at him and says, "But wait, I'm not done yet. There's more. Come with me." And he takes him over, and there's a really nice house with Ferrari logos all over it. And Ferrari looks at him and goes, "Lord, I just can't imagine." He says, "Look, you've done so many nice things. Very few people in heaven have their own home, but I thought it would be appropriate for you to have your own home here in heaven." He goes, "Oh, Lord, and he turns around, and behind them is this huge mansion with Porsche logos all over it. See the relevance to Orth? Okay. There's Porsche logos all over it. And Ferrari looks at him, and Ferrari looks at him and goes, "Lord, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but what did Friedrich Porsche do for humanity that I haven't done?" And God looks at him and says, "Oh, that's not his house, that's mine." Okay. So with that, I put up a slide, my clicker. I put up a slide, which is a letter I drafted yesterday to the Secretary of Transportation. So that you know what's going on, we have a local elected group called the MPO. They're an advisory body, but they have enormous power. And they have decided that the plan for a highway, which NCDOT has designed and funded, is the wrong solution for Durham. We need a boulevard with bicycle lanes. What he says. I want to breathe carbon monoxide. Who in this room would be interested in driving to downtown Durham on a bicycle from T.W. Alexander? Sign of hands. Oh my God, we're taxpayers. So I have interviewed all the members of the MPO. I've done everything I can, and I'm convinced that their minds can't be changed. So this letter went to the secretary. Our representative, Zach Hawkins, is on the Transportation Committee in the House. Our Senator, Mike Woodard, is on the Transportation Committee in the Senate. What's going to happen as a result of this, and I got emails from both of them as well as from the Executive Secretary, what's happening is they are going to get blessings from the Transportation Committee to advance legislation to override the MPO and get us the highway we were promised. So for those of you that think there aren't important things going on around, those of you who think we can't do anything about it, we're just going to be victimized, I'm going to get us a highway along with our team. Okay. So, why isn't this working? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry about that. It's the only thing I didn't test. Oh, my God. All right, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Maybe I won't. It is. It is plugged in. Yeah, the dongle is plugged in. Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, let's advance it. So, thank you. Is it advancing? There you go. I brought my own computer in case this one failed because I have. Will you loan me your glasses? Okay, so first of all, thank you very much. The goal of this meeting is pretty simple. We need help. You know, there are meetings going on for the comprehensive plan Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week. This is a 50-year plan for Durham. I'm going to be dead. I mean, so I don't give a 50. But what's going to happen with this town? We've got some people who have warped minds that want a bicycle lane that are now driving an agenda for the next 50 years for our community. 50 years. And you know what? Not only isn't there any plan for public transportation in our area, not only is there no plan for the roads on Highway 70, not only is there no plan for Leesville Road, but they have intentionally gone out and made sure that these meetings are not in Southeast Durham. How do you like that? So if we don't show up and be accountable, then I guess I'll read about it on OCA, but that doesn't help me much. We need to be able to be participatory, and that is what this meeting is all about. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's what I do. First of all, we have the Politics and Culture Club, and the goal of the Politics and Culture is it's a club. It's supposed to be entertaining, and it is there to educate. That's it. That's all it does. It educates. It's politically benign. We're studying the chicken and the egg. What comes first, the culture or the politics, and why? And next, please. Then we have our Better Angels group. We've held sessions with 25, in the parlance of Better Angels, Reds and 25 Blues, and we've discussed election law, immigration law, DACA, public education, affordable housing, all these things just to prove that we can have civil discourse. We can talk about what would be perceived as very contentious engagements, but do it in a respectful way. Out of all those meetings I just mentioned, there was only one disagreement between the Reds and the Blues. Okay, and it was in the on the election law, where the Reds thought there should be 2 weeks of early voting, and surprisingly, the Blues thought there should be 1 week. Other than that, there was complete agreement. And my hope, of course, is not just that we have a lovely meeting, but that we realize we can talk to our friends respectfully, we can talk to our neighbors respectfully, that there's a different way of communicating that doesn't need to be as contentious. Next, please. The Government Affairs Committee, which is what many of you know me for, this is trying to get the government to do things for the residents. So just today, I got permits approved within a day for someone putting a new apron on their driveway. I got a refund from Google for the services to this facility because they didn't perform very well. Got some cleanup done in one of their fibers they laid just today. That's government affairs. It does not get involved in politics. It's designed simply to go out and get things for all of you. Okay, next. And then there's the Leesville Road Coalition. This is the action one. This one goes out and fights for us. This takes political positions, okay, and does some do-goods. I mean, the origination of this food drive is really the Leesville Road Coalition, and I'm delighted that all 4 member communities are participating. So we do that. The letter that you saw, if I had gotten down to the signature line, it's a Leesville Road Coalition going after Highway 70. So it engages hardcore and pressures. Everywhere I go, I mean, I keep hearing, there was just a meeting, an annexation meeting, and they were talking about, we keep hearing from the Leesville Road Coalition. That's good, we write letters. But 2 or 3 of us showing at meetings where there are 30 to 50 people testifying is not enough voice. And what we'll do is we'll be able to provide information to all of you and the entirety of the community about important meetings that are coming up, and we hope that you participate, and we'll give you the talking points. So that's what we do. Next. You got it working. Wow, fantastic. Good for you. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Some of you may recall Maria Joyce running for sheriff, but she has agreed that if I can get her the political support, she'll run for the city council. And that's significant, not for a number of reasons. She is from the FBI, so we can bring law enforcement and some accountability onto the city council. It's important enough to her when I mentioned that you don't live in the city, therefore you couldn't run for city council. She said, I'll move. Okay, so that's very significant. So we can get people elected. Last time we got 3 people on, including the mayor, on city council, and that made a difference. It's not right yet, but it is moved in the right direction, to a more moderate city council. You may have heard about the camera system that's been installed here, the flock camera system. But what you might find interesting is I thought about this. I said, how's a resident supposed to know whether to call the sheriff or the police? How are you supposed to know that? You don't do that. You call 911. So I called my friend Randy Bierman up at 911 and said, hey, Randy, is there a way to get something in the database that shows where our cameras are on any report that goes out to the sheriff, EMS, or to the police? 2 days later, got it. We are the only installation in the country that has our camera information embedded in 911. It's a different story. Okay. And we've been getting pretty good service from the city and the county. I'm afraid the city is getting worse because they are really now high-handed on an equity thing, which they have translated in public, and I have the recordings, and I've spoken to the city attorney about, where they have communicated it's black and browns. So if we want our sidewalks repaired, 35% weighting out of 5 parameters is it a black or brown neighborhood? That's a problem. Okay, and we need to fight that. I mean, as I said, I've talked to the city attorney. I said, is this constitutional? It's prioritization of public funds based on race? A rhetorical question. I'm just letting you know that I got a problem with it. Okay, so it's going to get a little bit worse until hopefully with your participation it'll get better, but it's a big problem. Okay. A letter to Woodard. He is going to bring out NCDOT to talk to all of us about what's really going on through NCDOT in our area of Southeast Durham. What are the plans for the roads? You saw there's already a big hiccup in those plans, but he's going to bring them out to speak to us. Ward system. As you may know, our city government is comprised of 3 at-large seats, a mayor, and three ward seats. What are the requirements of the ward seats? They live in that ward. Do we elect them? No. The whole city elects them. So when I call up and I say, Mark Anthony Middleton, my good man, you are from Ward 2, we need some support. Herman, I'm elected by the whole city. What does that say? Pound sand, that's what it says. So we're starting an initiative now to look to change the ward system to conform what every other city of our size in North Carolina has, which is They are elected by the people of that ward. This stems back from a law of roughly 1920 when it was established, where there were 30,000 people living in Durham, and they had 14 seats on the city council. Do the math. So it made sense it was elected by the entire city. But we now have close to 300,000. It's with 7 seats. It's a different day. This is an interesting one. You're going to see a recording about this issue with the fire chief. Our fire chief testified in an annexation meeting that they don't have the capacity to properly service an area that was being developed. What you'll hear is the mayor pro tem shutting him down allegedly over language. What you won't hear is in the next meeting where our mayor pro tem, who I like, by the way, not as politics, but as a person, the next meeting he said, Fire Chief, how long does a drive take from Fire Station 17, that's our station, to get to Kemp Road? Fire Chief said 10 minutes. He says, oh, see, that's not a problem. The guidelines in North Carolina are 6 minutes. And not only is it 6 versus 10, but out of capacity means they might be at a different fire. It's not just the drive time. When I talked to the fire chief, I said, well, what happens when the traffic backs up on Leesville Road? He said, we'll just move the vehicles out of the way. I said, you mean you're going to smash into the vehicles and create a lane? He goes, yeah. Okay, so you're going to hear a recording of that. We did a Freedom of Information Act based on this and got this memo, which is going to the fire chief about they're out of capacity. What a shock. Oh, we have a Freedom of Information request going from us meaning the coalition, through the city attorney to get a copy of the city manager's memorandum shutting down the fire chief from talking. Unpleasant, right? It's politics. And here's the response. A councilperson, Javiera Cabral, told the rest of the city council, well, we shouldn't be discussing Durham Public Schools or EMS because those are county functions. So they are approving all this development, ready, 9,500 units in our area. They're approving all this without worrying about Durham Public Schools. I'm going to talk a second about Durham Public Schools. There was a annexation discussion going on and the developers said, and we're offering 6 proffers for students at Durham Public Schools, meaning they're going to issue extra money to pay for 6 students. And one of the commissioners asked him, excuse me, out of 660 homes that isn't over 55, you're saying there are 6 students? And the director of planning, county and city planning, said, oh, we got a new model, it's 120. What? We said 6 versus 120? Okay, then it came time for the votes. And we couldn't get good information, none of us could get good information about the school bonds, so we went out and investigated and sat down with 3 of the key administrators, great guys that really knew their stuff, all PhDs in Durham Public Schools, and we told them the story, and they go, no, the number's 220. What? It's not 6, it's not 120, it's 220? Oh yeah, we use a model and we know it's 220. Excuse me, have you ever heard of, do you talk to Sarah Young, who's the, oh yeah, she's great, she gives us all the information about new developments, and we can put that into our model. Do you get back to Sarah Young with what your model said? Oh no, I don't want to get involved in politics. I sat down with Wendy Jacobs, who's the co-chair of the county commissioners. I told her the story. She goes, oh. I said, what's really crazy, Wendy, is not just the miss, not just that we're not going to have the funding for our kids going to school, but look at the waste of resources. You've got 2 departments doing exactly the same thing. One's expert, one isn't expert. Why didn't we get them to talk? The annexation that I talked about with Kemp Road originally passed on a 4-3. It was, I'm happy to tell you who voted what. Okay, now the video. I'm going to have you meet Mark Anthony Middleton. You'll like this. Well, maybe not. I'm not trying to get you angry, by the way. I'm just... oh my goodness. How do you escape? Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Here it is.
Are there any questions for staff from council before I open up the public hearing? I have a question. I have a question about language, about some of these memos. At our last meeting, I raised a question about some verbiage and phraseology from staff that, at least in my reading, seems to have shifted places. So it's not in the memo anymore, but if you look at the tables under alternatives, you've got fire, you've got planning, you've got police, you've got public works, you've got solid waste. I've been reading these for years. I'm used to a particular type of language, particularly in the tables. So in fire, under expenses, it says the property is located 0.3 miles from City of Durham Fire Station 17, which is within the department certification standards. There have been 8 previous annexations within this fire district for this calendar year. While this additional volume independently will not result in additional fire department needs, the cumulative effect of continued annexation in the area will result in significant needs for the department. This annexation would require a portion of a new fire truck and additional FTEs. That last line is what I'm accustomed to seeing in these charts. So my question is, who wrote this?
I'm going to defer to, I think we have some folks from the fire department here who might be able to answer that. We have been working on kind of updating our language in staff memos, though.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. My name is Bob Zolas, and I have a pleasure serving as your fire chief. To answer your question, fire department staff does write these. We do a physical impact study every time there's a new development, annexation, and so forth. What you're seeing here, we started a few years ago to do a cumulative effect to actually add up what it costs to do the a true impact on the fire service, and the language here is about a cumulative effect on the fire service. Thank you for that, Chief, and good to see you. I guess what I don't know if it's a concern. I guess my question is, when is this ever not true? That annexations will always, by definition, require more capacity and more weight. And I guess what I'm concerned about is it seems a bit editorial coming from staff. When we decide to annex as a council, we know that as more people come, we need more police, we need more capacity to pick up garbage, we need more roads, we need more stuff. Hospital beds, what have you. Fire is not exempt from that, and fire is not exotic. So I guess it didn't used to read, and I don't know if this is done in conjunction with planning, but I guess just moving forward, the council's aware of what the implications of growth are. We know that growth implies more capacity. We get that. I guess in part of my, I think, responsibility to the staff is to insulate you and exempt you from the type of conversations we get into with residents and citizens. And this has been a really good document at doing that historically. But it seems to me that the language that I raised questions about in a different part in the memo, just seemingly, at least in spirit, has changed places somewhere else. And I don't know what the remedy of that ultimately is going to be. But, and this isn't for you personally, Chief, this is the planning department and everybody. I just want to, just lean in and advise staff to read it out loud and make sure that it doesn't seem to be straying into the line of editorial, as opposed to the expert, empirically based, data-driven input that we've been getting in these things for years. We know that continued annexation results in more needs. That's by definition, that's what annexation does. Not just on fire, but in all areas. So I put that not to you personally, Chief, but to the staff in general as we move forward. I hope that particularly this part of the document, this science, empirical kind of based charts will get more back to that, and that we would, be aware that the council is well aware of what the implications of increased annexation is. And again, Chief, that's not for you personally. Thank you. That's all I have. Colleagues, any other questions for staff? Councilmember Caballero.
Yeah.
So there you have it. You have the mayor pro tem saying that our constitutional rights, our opportunity as a citizenry is not to discuss these things with staff. Not the America I just saluted. Okay? It just isn't. It isn't right. And I'm telling you, the coalition, as strong as we are, and we've got our voices out, we can't do it alone. But it's important. This was December. Is there budget for a new fire truck? No. Is there an RFP to find out how much it costs to buy a fire truck, which I know people in the industry can take 2 years to get? No. We have reason to believe that there's a memo from the city manager telling staff not to talk to the public. Okay. Glad I started with a joke, right? Okay, so there was a performance audit on the city before this meeting took place in October. Durham Fire Department response time are higher than standards. The current methodology to identify additional resources should be enhanced to improve. This is the city's own study. Whew. Okay, what's going on in our neighborhood? Well, first of all, this is important. We have been accused by Mayor Schul and a bunch of other people that we're against further development in Southeast Durham. Not true. At least not the coalition. There is a group with a lovely lady who I adore, Pam Andrews, the former sheriff's wife, is Preserve Rural Durham. So that's against, right? That's against more housing. We're not. We're just saying what Middleton said. If you want to build more, great. Build some roads, hire some police, hire some people from EMS, hire some more ambulances, do some things. Okay, so that's what smart development means to us. So what's going on? There's about 35 people a day moving into Durham. Durham needs more housing, no question about it. You see people out on the street, you hear about rising rents, all that kind of stuff going on. We need more housing. Other neighborhoods are much higher density. Wow, we have our own homes. Let me tell you, there are members of the city council who think that everything should be townhouses or smaller. In fact, if you go down to where my daughter lives in Trinity Park, they tore down a house and built, you ready, 5 houses on the same spot. That's great high density. What they didn't bother telling the electorate is those houses are selling for $500,000 apiece. Well, we have land and sewer and water. That's really good. Ooh. Southeast Durham is not part of the body politic of Durham. We have no representation on the city council. We are the money pit. Come build here, collect taxes, send it for affordable housing, send it for all kinds of other things, but don't bother the infrastructure of Southeast Durham because they're new to the neighborhood. What's happening? Okay, so this is what we used to look like around here. Today, well, you can't read these maps, I'll scroll through them, but 6,000 new homes in this area have been approved since 2019. 2,500 more homes are on the docket in our neighborhood. We see the developers doing mass grading, deforesting, red clay runoff. There's going to be a lot more about that in a second. The developers are blasting. Did any of you have problems with your homes? You did? Okay, yeah, there were several of them. If you read the laws, and you won't be able to see them, but I'll show you what the rules are about that. It's really pretty dismal. There haven't been any new additional police in years. I've had meetings with a captain of our precinct. There's no public transportation. They collected $1,500 from every home that was built. That's $2 million just from us. I'm not talking about taxes now. These are they're called impact fees. Where did it go? So I worked with one of the council people to try and track it. It goes into the general funds and then it goes somewhere. It's not traceable. Okay. This is a redundant slide. Sorry about that. But what's changing? So, you drive down Leesville. You see this. Right? Used to be nice trees and stuff like that. Not anymore. This is what's happening. We have a developer that comes in and says, hi, I want to build There's a public hearing, which they say, oh, we don't have anything to do with the regulations. We're just here to talk about what we plan on doing. And then, then it goes through, if it's city land already, then the people that own the land can build at what's called at right. They can just build. No approvals necessary, other than safety type stuff. But if it's county land where there isn't any water or sewer, now they go through an annexation process. So now the city says to the county, we're going to take over this land and we'll supply the water and sewer. Therefore, the city alone unilaterally has the right to approve the plans. And they do this on their own. The county commissioners are just now getting involved. They haven't said boo about this. Their lands are being taken away, and they just sit back and go, isn't this nice? And then eventually houses go up for sale. So what's the process? Oh, I was doing that. So that's the public hearing, and then, okay, move along. Wow. That's the first. Yeah. Cities are not investing anything. You know, together we spend $7 to $8 million a year in real estate taxes. Told you about the impact fees. What do you think they're collecting from Fenville Farms? Brightleaf, they have more units in Brightleaf than there are here. You know, and they keep building, but it doesn't get invested here. It's all going to downtown and to other areas of Durham. Yeah. No commercial hubs. You know, this county that does EMS and sheriff and schools, you know, they get tax money out of it, but that's it. Come on. This is what they want. That's where all the money's going. But in fact, in developer proffers are money that the developer gives to the city to kind of sweeten the deal. The city attorney told the city councilors it's illegal to ask for proffers, so they're not allowed to do that anymore. But all the developers know they're supposed to come out with proffers. We found out that $700,000 of proffers have never been collected. Never collected. They approve the land, give the developers a go-ahead, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not against developers at all. I mean, the developers we have in this area are working very well. That's not the issue. The issue is governance. We have one person on the city council that has any management experience at all, and he owns 2 restaurants. Other than that, they have no management experience. So here's the chart. I mentioned 9,000 homes. Look at the pace of development as you get out to 2022. Look what's going on. So what you see now as you drive down Leesville Road, what you see in congestion on Highway 70, that's today's news. What's going to happen in 2024 as all these houses get populated? We have all the detail. We share all the detail. We know what we're talking about. You know, we're not just talking out of our, what I call tuchus. It's a good name. You like that one. Okay, so there's a comprehensive plan being designed. It's 2 years late. They've been working on this for 2 years. And they are intentionally trying to keep us out of these meetings by having them elsewhere. I applied to be a captain to help solicit input. Wow, thank you, Mr. Sperling. That was great of you. That was a year ago.
So, Herman, I sent my letter to the engaged. Let me tell you, I put it out on OCA, and Dave Morgan also put the direct link to it. If you don't read it, you will never know what's changing, and it's not good. But I got a response from my letter, and they said they did hold a meeting in Southeast Durham. And I asked her back for information about it. When was it, who attended, and what are the results, and I haven't heard back.
Thank you. And Sarah Young is good. I assume that's who wrote back to you.
It was Lisa.
Oh, she works for Sarah. Sarah's really good. I mean, I had a conversation with her the other day. I said, maybe we should have this conversation over a cup of coffee or a beer, because what I'm going to talk about, I don't know that you want to talk about from your offices. What's going on, Sarah? It took me about 2 more times of repeating that question when she finally said, it's the elected officials. So you can imagine what the fire chief was saying. I'm telling you what the head of corporate county city planning said. The city attorney, I can't quite replicate her facial expressions, but they're similar. It's a problem. And the answer comes up in October in the primaries when we will elect the mayor plus 3 city councilors this October. Okay. Come on. Yep, so they're not doing anything. You know, this is really kind of sad. I told you they want bike lanes on Highway 70. What about Leesville Road? You try and walk from one community to the other on Leesville Road, look, it stops. You're supposed to cross the street, I guess, to pick it up on the other. Oh, there's no crosswalk. You want to ride your bicycle? Good luck. There's nothing. You know, and that's a place where you could go from community to community to community. It doesn't exist. Okay, so these are at least a mile from the development. I guess now you could probably walk to Harris Teeter through that back way. But other than that, forget it. I mean, you have to drive, and there is no public transportation. And I'm kind of an old guy. Someday I'm not going to be able to drive. How am I going to get there? I don't live in Century Village in Florida where they have buses. There's nothing here. Bike lanes, roadside ditches, dead-end sidewalks. That's the corner of Doc Nichols near Fire Station 17. I mean, this is our community. This is interesting. This comes from Go Durham. This is their map of their development. Southeastern isn't even on their map. Not only aren't there plans that say, here's where we're going to put in, we're not even on the map. And the problem they're facing, rightfully, there are 1,000 bus stops in Durham. 1,000. And a lot of these, there's just a sign planted in the grass, stand there in the rain, enjoy yourself. I talked to the mayor, I said, this is a good thing, we need to get involved. She goes, yeah, how can you help? I said, I'll get back to you later this afternoon. I get back to her later afternoon. Oh, here's their 5-year plan. Here are all the numbers. It's $50,000 a unit for a bus stop. $50,000. I said, do you know where that's coming from? And she goes, no, I know it's a big number. I mean, we don't have the money to fund this. I said, I get that. But where does it come from? Well, they're going to have a sign, next bus stop in. Next bus stop in. You need electricity for that. So they've got to run power to each one of these bus stops. I'm like, are you kidding me? You could put up solar panels. You could put up Wi-Fi hotspots. People could recharge their phones and find out the entirety of the transportation system. And by the way, you have advertising on the side of buses. Why wouldn't there be revenue coming in? She goes, wow, Herman, those are really good ideas. Nothing's happened. But, I mean, it's just thinking, right? According to NCDOT in their last study, I thought it was 2017, but maybe it was 2015, Leesville can handle 25,000 a day, assuming that we've got traffic coming in from Olive Branch and Doc Nichols, and they're all coming in. And if you drive down Doc Nichols or Olive Branch, you think there's development going on here, and go down those streets. There's a lot more, and they're all dumping in. Anyway, there is nothing happening. We held a meeting. We had the traffic people from Durham. We had engineers from NCDOT. We had Zach Hawkins from the legislature. And I said, I want to do a summary to this meeting. I think this is what I heard. I'm going to play it out to you, and you can tell me if I heard it correctly. The earliest there could conceivably be the development of a plan for Leesville Road is 2035. And from the development of that plan, it would take at least 10 years to implement. So, am I hearing right that there's going to be no development Leesville Road with all this stuff going on until that's available to us until 2045? Yeah, it's a good summary. Okay, so fortunately, these are the guys who were in that meeting. There you go. That's the slide. So Zach is a good friend. Mike Woodard is a good friend. These are good people. Bill Judge is terrific. He's constrained. He's like the fire chief. He's being kept he's like a Hope Diamond being kept in a little glass. Great to look at, but whoa, can't talk to him or touch him. And Sanders. These are some of the people that were in that meeting. We can't trace that. There's $1.54 billion coming from the infrastructure law. I don't know what our share is, where it's going. It's incremental. Nobody planned on it. Maybe we could spend it on Leesville Road. Maybe we could build new schools. Maybe we could, buy a fire truck. I can't find out where that money is going. I talked a little bit about this. This is really crazy. This was my letter in the beginning. You've all driven on 885, I assume. And Campo, which is the Wake County version of our MPO, is building out their freeway, or letting NCDOT build out their freeway, TW Alexander at 540, that whole area. But our geniuses who have lots of experience in transportation, far more than NCDOT, are saying, no, we want a boulevard. We don't want to bifurcate the communities by putting in a highway. What communities? Well, we want businesses to prosper. Wait a minute. Burger King is closing. They can't even support a Burger King at the corner of Sharon Road and Leesville Road, and you want to protect what? Let me put it in your parlance, if I may. I'm going to come out of TW Alexander, and I'm going to look right towards Durham, and I'm going to see a traffic jam. And I'm going to look left towards Raleigh, and I'm going to see a freeway. Guess where I'm going to spend my taxable money? Not in Durham. So if affordable housing, public infrastructure...
You're saying Raleigh's going to make a freeway and Durham's going to make a boulevard?
Slight correction. NCDOT has designed and is paying for both of those. Our MPO in Durham is saying, we don't want that here. We want a boulevard.
So we're going to have a freeway to Raleigh and a boulevard to Durham.
Until you get to 885. Right, and there was a hearing on this last week, and somebody asked, well, if they have a freeway in Raleigh, how do they get to the boulevard? Oh, well, we're going to have to, narrow it down.
Don't work in Durham if you live in Raleigh.
Right. Okay. And what could happen is this money is applied to NCDOT to go spend on anything they want, wherever they want to spend it. And the state legislature has to approve it. So what happens if they don't like the idea of a boulevard? They don't like the fact that they have fully engineered this plan, which was approved by the previous MPO. And they get pissed off and say, I'm going to take my money to Asheville. We lose. And you know what the answer is from the technical manager of the MPO? We'd rather have nothing than a highway. Because let me assure you, if we can't afford schools, we can't afford a fire truck, we can't afford to staff EMS, I bet we can't afford to build a boulevard without state money. Think that's a fair bet? I hate to keep harping on Fire Station 17, but to me there are few things more core to public safety than an operational fire department. This is unconscionable. And the thing that's most disturbing, I remember when I first met the previous city manager, Tom Bonfield, he complimented this community specifically. He complimented John Orth and, oh my God, I'm going to forget her name. She headed up community awareness. You know what I'm talking about. Because of an L, not Lorraine, but something like that. Loretta. Complimented them. Do you know this is the first station in North Carolina that combines EMS and the fire department, and Carolina Arbors was responsible for having that happen. This makes me especially sad when I see this kind of stuff. So let's look at what happened when the fire department weighed in. this was an interview of the county. They said the fire department has identified the remaining capacity for fire stations in the area was allocated to blah, 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 was approved in September 2nd. As such, there is not existing capacity for fire and services. This proposal without additional stations and resources. Based on not only the build-out timeline for Wilkinson Estate, but also for other projects in the area, the Durham Fire Department has significant concerns about not having the infrastructure and personnel in place to support annexation. Not my words. We talked about blasting. Okay, there is a process, and I'll be happy to get anyone that wants the documentation. Blasting is approved by the fire department. And if you read these and you see what authority they have and what do they put the developers through, you'll go, huh? Not the fire department's fault. This comes out of our city council. I'll be happy to give it to you. Here's what our water supply is turning into. It's getting closer to our drinking water. Boating. That's coming out of Fendel Farms. I mean, I'm sure some of you walk along our a little Briar Creek. Look inviting. Want to go swimming? Wash your clothes, maybe? Okay, and Pam Andrews, who's heading up this group, is really focused on this. She has issued, her group has issued litigation against the city council for polluting our water. So something can be done. Something is being done. We just need to participate. So as much as I don't like Pam's, and I'm not telling you anything that I haven't told her, I hate the name of her organization, Preserve Rural Durham. And I've told her that we can't align with you because of that. But this kind of stuff is right up our alley. This is what we want to do. So we do align on these kind of things. You know, we align on Highway 70. We kind of work together. That's interesting, isn't it? Oh my. There's no problem according to the city. Yeah, it's a whole home filtration system. That was taken out. The middle one, the nice, clean white one, that's what it's supposed to look like. The other two were taken out of the actual system. Yeah, I don't know if you're an environmentalist or not. It's interesting to me how we're led by progressives, and yet we're polluting our waters, we're polluting our streams, we're polluting our drinking water, we're getting rid of places for animals to live. It's kind of paradoxical, I think, maybe hypocritical. Public safety, okay, I said there's no new Durham police in our area for 5 years. Okay, I think this is I'm beginning to answer your question now. These are actual posts. I mean, I did most of this presentation a while ago, but these were posts. This is the public talking.
The other thing, Herman, is 911's supposed to call you back after you let the phone ring for 40 times and they don't answer. They don't call back.
Okay, we should talk about that afterwards. And you and Randy Beeman, the head of it, and I will get together and find out why. He's a great guy, by the way. Office of Emergency Services. This is interesting. They were interviewed. Does Durham County EMS think more paramedic positions need to be created? Yes. Gee, that's a shock, right? But what are we doing about it? Not much. The small print is just from the same report. I just wanted to put it all in, but it's presentation stuff, right? Our current staffing and deployment model is over 5 years old. Now, you just saw the amount of housing that's been developed out just here since '98. You got 35 people a day moving into Durham. You want to know why we call EMS and they're not here? That's why. Does Durham County need more ambulances in addition to more paramedics? Yes! They're first due to arrive this fall to replace some of our existing fleet. Not more. Just get ones that work. Yeah, it's a plus, I guess. What are we spending our money on? Does Durham County also need more ambulance in addition to more paramedics? Yes! I'm sure this is shocking you. You couldn't believe that we'd need more of this stuff. This is in the public domain. This is not Herman Sperling speaking to you. when we did this presentation for Carolina Arbors, we did it under, it was a virtual town hall. Deidreana Freeman, one of our council people, and a dear friend, stood up and explained to the people that did attend how to get involved in city politics. She's an advocate. Our mayor is an advocate. She is an advocate. She's an advocate for doing the right things. She is. There are people that object to the fact that she chaired the Committee on Equity. She was appointed by the mayor. But if you knew the people that were on that committee and you knew what they wanted in that report, and then you read the report, you'd see how much she moderated it. But I can tell you that she always votes down more annexation in our area. She asks the tough questions about the fire department, the EMS. She asks those questions at every one of these meetings. And before we judge who is and isn't our friend, we should spend time either watching the videos of these city councils or, more importantly, I think, come down, join us. So, this is, now you're into Herman speak. This is, we need to get involved. Because I'm talking about activation, it's not politics and culture. It's not government affairs. It is the Leesville Road Coalition. That's what we're designed to do. And we have the power of an addressable audience of 4,000. We have a little more than 900 who have signed up on our Facebook page. So we're getting stronger.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it's not political, then why does the Leesville Road Coalition come out and support candidates?
So I didn't say the Leesville Coalition isn't political. I said government affairs isn't, and politics and culture aren't. No, I don't think so, because it is. It is designed to get involved in politics to get us the service. The other two are not. Right? So if you are interested, I have some of my official Leesville Road Coalition cards here. And there's a QR code, which you can scan, and you'll get right to our Facebook page, and you can sign up there. Or, if you don't do QR codes, we have the address. But I encourage you, please sign up. At least you'll find out all this kind of stuff that's going on, which I don't publish through OCA, or very little of it through OCA, because it's more political, and I try to stay away from that, except in the coalition. Yes, sir?
For those who don't do Facebook, how can
We have a page on Nextdoor. And other than that, I guess, give me a call. So in trying to get really back to pure democracy, Dan, we don't collect any dues. We don't spend any money. We only support things that our 4 coalition members support. So Nancy, in terms of candidates, it isn't Herman speaking. This is the votes of the neighborhoods from the coalition. Okay, I mean, that's what they say that they want. Okay.
So, Herman, how does the Leesville Road Coalition work? The same way there's a group of people that meet and talk twice a month, I think?
Well, you were on it, so you should know that.
And how does the word get out to all the subdivisions?
So on that group, there are representatives from each of the 4 members,
Right.
communities, and they are.
What does that entail when they join, I guess, is what I'm driving at.
So there's 2 different aspects. When you join or you sign up on Facebook, you will see our Facebook page, you'll see our announcements, you can chime in, you can ask questions, you can do all that kind of stuff. It is the job of the leadership from each community to get a sense of what their community wants. Every 2 weeks, the leadership, it's happening tonight, I'm missing it unfortunately. Every 2 weeks the leadership team gets together and we discuss what those things that are going on in the community.
So how do you get it out to the community if you don't use OCA?
How do I get what we're doing out to OCA?
What the community wants so you can take it to the meeting?
Well, It's an excellent question. That's one of the reasons I wanted you in, because you represent a constituency that I'm not normally involved in. So I try and get, people that are from red and blue so that we can get together and talk to our neighbors and come to these meetings with an opinion of what our people want. We're not allowed to do polls on OCA. We can't do that. And if we did a poll on Facebook, I guess we could do that, but that doesn't represent the community. That represents the membership. And the membership is supposed to serve the respective communities. So I'm not telling you it's perfect, but I am telling you we're trying. We have other questions? Yes, sir. All right, let me try. I'm sorry. Let me try and paraphrase what you're saying so that everyone can hear. If I'm not properly saying it, please just correct me. I think what I'm hearing is it's not a surprise that political figures aren't properly serving us, okay, but voting itself isn't enough. Is that a reasonable summary of what you're saying? That voting alone isn't enough. That
voting for the able politicians, not just politicians. They are able to solve the problems for the citizens.
yes.
Not just talk and talk. And some politicians, they can talk well, but they cannot do much.
Well, okay, so I think what you're adding to it is that the politicians can't do much, right? Is that what you're saying?
Able people to do something to help them make
Ah!
a decision.
To help them make their decisions. Great. Let me tell you that we held a meeting with two county commissioners, the two co-chairs of the county commission, the mayor, two members of the city council, the city manager, the county manager, a developer, I can't remember, there was a couple. We had this meeting, and basically it was on your subject, what you're talking about right now. The premise of the meeting was, I understand from the developer, I'm sorry, let me back up just a second. I kicked it off saying, everyone agrees we need more housing in Durham, right? Yes, great. Okay, so I understand from the developer that it used to take 11 months from concept to shovel in dirt, and it now takes 2 years. It's a problem we have to fix. It takes too long, costs too much. How do we fix that? And I followed this up with a meeting with our current city manager, Wanda. And I said, Wanda, the purpose of this meeting was to get the public involved. We have business people, we have executives, we have engineers, we have all kinds of services that people would volunteer to offer. Oh, Herman, when we need a consultant, we pay for a consultant. Really? When was the last time you paid for a consultant? 3 years ago. I said, whoa, Durham hasn't changed in 3 years? She doesn't want the public involved. Her sandbox. We've got problems to overcome to do, because you're exactly right. We should be able to volunteer, we should be able to advise, we should be able to get involved. But did you see the way the city council sits? They look down on everybody, right? They look down. And it's the same thing if you go into the county commission. They look down at everyone. They want to do their own thing. Is there malfeasance? Probably. Is there ego? For sure. Are there a lot of reasons? Yeah. The way that we get involved is we go in and we go to public meetings and we demand it. That's how.
Let me ask you one question.
Sure.
How often the government, they do performance review or analysis to make possible improvement?
It's an interesting question. Best I know, they don't do that, but I can tell you, even in the report I showed, they don't act on it. So even when they have the analysis, it doesn't matter. They do whatever they want to do.
For political factors to make a decision, not economic factors.
Correct. They're not business people. There's one guy who owns 2 restaurants. The rest of them aren't business people. There's a preacher. There is a former judge. There is a assistant professor of sociology. There is someone who is funded, partially funded by the Communist Party out of the Pacific Northwest. There's someone else, I don't know what her background is, Javiera. That's the city council. They're amateurs. They're playing with millions of dollars of our money. Millions of dollars of our money. I sat with them with Mayor Scholl. I said, let me give you an example of something we could do. You want to build in Southeast Durham? Great. You know what? Go down in Briar Creek. There are signs, job openings in almost every store. Why can't we have a private-public partnership in transportation of people from the affordable housing you're building and get them to where there's jobs? Wow, Herman, what a good idea. Have you seen one of those buses? I haven't. So you're right. There's malfeasance, there's incompetence, there's judgmental, there's all that going on. I'm telling you, I am convinced of having tried to work the politics in this area for several years, that it is possible to make a change. It is possible. Because there are only 2 things a politician cares about: money, votes. Nothing else matters. And when the faces show up, it's a different story. Now, I'm going to say something to you now which may offend some of you, and I apologize for it, but I always tell the truth. When I talked to one of the members of the county commission, who I respect, she said, Herman, when you go to these meetings, how many people of color go with you? I said, none. They're not going to listen. That's what we're facing. Now, I'm certainly not, I'm an equal rights guy. I used to have hair down to here and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not. But that is the reality of where we're living. And I could go into more, you know, I'm a psychologist, so I could go into a whole bunch of different things about why these dynamics are accelerating. But we need to make a difference. Okay. Any other questions? Please sign up. My cards are up there. Yes?
It's a little thing, but our greenways have been quite an addition to our community. Can you get us up to date if they're connecting all around our community? I heard that they're not going to be connecting over the grocery store because of lack of funding or something.
The greenways in Carolina Arbors you're talking about?
And in the surrounding four communities, are they all connecting now?
There was, when I first moved here almost 7 years ago, there's a plan that was supposed to take the greenways and connect from Appalachia all the way to the ocean. I haven't seen any of that. They seem to have forgotten that because they want to build a boulevard. You know, it's just forgotten. Now, the specifics. At the board's behest, we investigated us having the city take over our greenways so that we wouldn't be responsible for maintaining the bridges and the asphalt and all the other kind of stuff. And that was very revealing. The city considers our greenways HOA private property. We're entitled to put up gates, to keep other people off of it, to do all that kind of stuff. So, using that as a model, and using my experience over the last 7 years of connecting these greenways, I don't think it's going to happen. Or at least sidewalks, right? Okay, I'm sorry if I depressed you. I certainly didn't mean to do that. You know, again, the goal is what can we do? My mission was to tell you what's going on in local government. And hopefully I've done that. And I'm wide open to keep communicating with anyone or all of you to let you know what's going on as it goes on. But there's a lot of work There is just a lot of work. And fortunately, there are a number of people that are doing work in it. That's very helpful. I mean, I mentioned I had the letter that went out yesterday to the Secretary of Transportation, Dave Morgan, who is on the Leesville Coalition as well as Government Affairs. He is on the RDU board, and he is a county city planning commissioner. Provoked by seeing my letter, wrote another letter saying how important it is to the development of Durham specifically and to the airport, and he came right back. So there are other people doing this. But I can't tell you there are enough. There aren't. Okay? Well, with that, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Herman. His cards are up here on the podium if you want to get one after the meeting. Before we adjourn, I just have 3 quick announcements I wanted to make. Yesterday, we made a post, the Board of Directors made a post on OCA on the Veterans Club Forum. It was called Salute to Our Volunteers, and I hope you've read it. If you haven't, please go ahead and take a look at that, because we've been blessed with many, many talented people who have donated their time and are making this club really fantastic. Speaking of volunteers, we are going to have a short meeting of the events committee and the program committee right after this. We'll be in the back of the room. And the final thing, I want to make sure everybody understands the March meeting. On March 6th, the Veterans Club and the Woodworkers Club have combined to put on a presentation called Home Repair and Remodeling Panel Discussion. So we're inviting all the Veterans Club members to come to that. We will not have a separate meeting on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. It's going to be on March 6th. Okay, so it's a little bit different. And the only thing a little bit different is we do require a sign up for that meeting because we need to make sure we have enough chairs in the room and all. So you're not used to signing up for Veterans Club meetings. You just come and we have a meeting, but do sign up for that and we hope to see you there. We do have a social time at the end, and I hope that you'll stay around and visit with your neighbors. All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Can I say one more thing? Excuse me, I wanted to say one more thing. I'd like you to join me in a little appreciation for Paul Hesse, who's been in the back of the room. Paul heard today that the board wanted this meeting recorded and broadcasted, and Paul really stepped up to set this up and to run it all day. So please join me in giving Paul a thank you.